Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Listen, we've got a huge one for you here today because it is playoff preview time, baby. Something I look forward to every year. Okay, we're going to break it down series by series. But listen, there are so many people out there that are great with stats and analysis. Apologies about my puppy, okay? Me puppy, she loves me. She's still a puppy. We're working on it, all right? Um, there's everybody out there is, so great with stats and analysis. They're picking up different facts. They're looking at betting odds, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm going to break this down for you with some of those facts, but also just my feelings, my gut. Okay. Because that is where I make a lot of these choices. And also that's how we have fun on this pod. That's why we're here. We're here to have fun. So we're going to go through all of that. But first, it has been I missed last week, and I apologize for that. Um, but there's been some drama that I just feel like we should get into first, before we get into all the playoff shenanigans. Okay, so first of all, we have Mike Malone fired from the Denver Nuggets. We have the GM of the Denver Nuggets, Clive Booth, I believe his name is. Oh my god, I keep wanting to call this guy, what was his name? John Wilkes Booth. The guy that assassinated Lincoln, same thing. And, so we had that happen. Then we have this morning, the Sacramento Kings GM. His name is, I have it right here, Monte McNair, fired immediately after that play-in game disaster. Okay. And this week we had Nico Harrison having a press conference doubling down on his poor decisions, and somehow he still has a job. So, what in like the days of our lives is happening with the NBA right now? Right? Like, I just feel like there's so many teams that are in this like quote unquote like turmoil that I feel like shouldn't be. And in years past probably weren't, right? Like, think about it. You're a fourth seed in the West in a very, very tough competitive Western Conference, and, like, days before the playoffs, you're, like, firing your coach, firing your GM, like, look, maybe people stopped getting along with him. Um, I don't know to what degree he, like, completely lost the locker room. It came out that he had a bit of a temper, like, to yell a lot, but, I feel like it's still crazy because Mike Malone, like, if he has a temper, that means he's always had that temper. So nothing's new, right? Like, that was the only thing that I kept hearing about after the fact. Like, with the GM, his contract was up at the end of the season. It wasn't being renewed, or at least renewed early, so there was already suspicion around that. But the Mike Malone part of it was more shocking, and I didn't hear you let me know if you heard something and I missed it, but I like to think I follow a decent amount of NBA media. I didn't hear anything that suggested something new was going on. So, I'm kinda confused about how he's just been the same, winning, including a championship, and then suddenly, like, he's gone. The only, like, quote, unquote, "rumor" that I heard is that he was giving Russell Westbrook special treatment, and that rubbed people the wrong way. I don't know how true that is or not. Russell Westbrook, I don't think should have quote unquote special treatment, but he's such a weird player to dissect. I like Westbrook as a person. He seems like a decent guy. He's a family guy. I love all the stuff he does in the fashion world. He seems generally cool. As a player, he's just so like 0 to 100, aggressive, holds the ball too much. I feel like this is something I could do a deep dive on, like, maybe in the off season or something, but in his early OKC days, when they still had James Harden and James Harden was coming off the bench, 6th man of the year, and they got to the finals, right? And Russell Westbrook was their lead point guard. I was very firm on they should have James Harden be their lead point guard. They should move Russ to the 2 spot. He'd be an undersized 2 guard, but he plays so big, I think he could thrive as an undersized 2 guard and probably has since because the league has, embraced smaller lineups more since then, and they had to early in his career, try to teach him to play off the ball more. Like, that is something I absolutely stand by, like and, everything happened as it happened. They trade James Harden, blah, 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 and he has just been, since leaving OKC, has just been this impossible fit, and it's so weird because it's like, when you look at the raw talent, it's like, it's there, you know? So greater minds can figure out why that doesn't really work. But I thought, at least earlier in the season, that things were working out with Russ. So maybe that isn't true, or it was working out at the beginning of the season and things have changed. I don't watch enough Nuggets basketball, admittedly, to fully comment on that, but hey, we're gonna see in these playoffs whether that sort of intuition was true or not, what kind of minutes he gets, how well he's playing with everyone else. Is this why the GM was also fired? Because this was a bad decision. The other thing that was coming up was that there was a quote unquote constant battle between playing younger players or playing vets, and Mike Malone was more pro playing vets, and the front office was more pro playing the younger guys. And apparently, this went on for 2 years. So again, not new, right, for something to just abruptly happen now. But I think this whole debate, if it's true, which I think this part is true, is completely ridiculous because you have Jokic, who's one of the great, he's easily one of the best players of his generation, right? Like, I think we can say, like, of guys in and around his age, he's one of the best ever. Like, we'll have that conversation later, but he is poised to be on that level of best in his age bracket without question. And then any other greatness can be measured later. But my point is, you play people that you think he can win a championship with. It doesn't matter if they're young, if they're old, if they can thrive on a championship roster, that's what you do. I don't know why this age thing is even a conversation. And typically that does mean you lean more towards vets. Typically that is the case. So I am more Mike Malone on this. However, if you have a young player, let's say for example, like a Fred VanVleet, right? Like, Fred was young when he won with Toronto. I think he was only, like, 24 at the time. That's an example of a young player that should be on your championship roster, right? As a really solid backup point guard. I think, like, all this age stuff is BS, and similar to the Dallas situation, it's like, okay, this is the information you're giving to the public, but I don't think this is necessarily the truth or, the whole truth. Okay. I'm not trying to quote a few good men here. I'm just saying, like, there's more to all of this than they're letting out. And, maybe it's not our business. I think that that's a fair debate to be had, but I don't think we're getting truthful answers out of the Denver Nuggets team. But hey, super, super curious to see how this playoffs is gonna go for them. Their series against the Clippers is gonna be one of, like, the prime must-watch series. There's actually a few, like, really juicy series. We'll get into that. Um, the Dallas drama, it's just more of the same. It's just more of Nico Harrison just having the blindest confidence I've ever seen in my life. Like, 6 weeks ago, I was like, "I can't believe this guy isn't in witness protection." And not only is he not in witness protection, he's just out and about flexing like I'm right, everyone's wrong, nobody gets me. I mean, where does this guy get off? Like, so I wish okay, do I wish I had the confidence of Nico Harrison? I don't know. It's just it's so big. I can't even imagine it. I would love to have the confidence of Nico Harrison, at least for a day, just so I can sit back and evaluate if it is just, like, arrogance and cockiness, you know what I mean? Because he's really doubling down on this. He kept going on and on about defense wins championships, and, people have gone on about how, like, sure, defense wins championships, but you were in the finals last year. So and that's because of Luka predominantly. In addition to that, you signed Klay Thompson as a free agent last offseason, and, I love Klay. We all know how much I love Klay, and thank God he had that revenge game against the Kings. I was super happy about that. Not exactly known for his defense. You know what I mean? Like he's a decent defender. He's not quite as quick as he used to be, so he's not as fierce of a defender as he once was, but that's not why you sign Klay Thompson. So, he's going on about how I made the Kyrie Irving move and no one believed in that and that worked out and blah blah blah. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. It's like, yes, those were good moves, but they were good moves because you had Luca around them. Um, so even though he is going out of his way to go on and on and on, also just I want to say this press conference was very like you typically teams have this kind of press conference when their season ends, right? Like the Raptors the other day, they had their season ending press conference. The Dallas Mavericks season hasn't ended yet, right? I mean, we'll see if it ends, Friday. I'm kinda hoping it doesn't. That game against Memphis is gonna be really good. Really, I'm rooting for Dallas in this. But I think that's just because 'cause I'm so biased for Klay Thompson. But the other thing, and I said this a few weeks ago on the podcast, is like give Dallas credit for not giving up on their season when everyone else did, myself included, right? Like everyone gave up on Dallas. They were like, oh, Anthony Davis is going to hang it up for the season. Why bring Derek Lively back? All this stuff. These guys come back from injury and they're playing so hard and they're playing like they got something to prove and they're playing with pride and I really like that. And it was frankly quite the opposite of some of the other teams we've seen these last couple of days. As of this recording, I don't know John Morant's status for that Memphis game. And, you know, I I'm very indifferent with Memphis. Like I don't have an emotional attachment to this team the way I have an emotional attachment to Clay Thompson. So, we'll see. I think Memphis has a really good shot at winning this game, but I'm just like I look at Dallas and I'm like, man, like this team, the way they are right now, despite all this drama, I really like the way they've come out, and I feel like it ignites my sort of passion for sports, right? Like, this is the kinda underdog that I enjoy rooting for. Um, not that I wanna reward Nico for all his insanity. I still think it's the worst trade ever made in NBA history. The way they handled, like, the Luca return game with the "Thank you, Luca" and, like, Slovenian T-shirts and stuff, I was like, "Oh, this is so weird." Like, you guys are, like, insulting this guy after you traded him, telling him 'cause he's lazy, he drinks too much, like, what? I don't know, it's like, make it make sense. They get like, the front office, like, Nico gives me a headache, okay? But the actual players playing on this team, I do think are really good, and I actually do think this is a good team. Was it a better team with Luka? Yes. But is it a good team with Anthony Davis? Yes. The interesting advantage that Dallas is gonna have is that they're really big. Right? Like Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, like they're stacked with bigs on this team now. Downside is Anthony Davis is also your point guard now. let's see how that works out, It's like, who do you wanna see get swept against OKC? Would you rather see Memphis get swept, or would you rather see Dallas get swept? And, I'm thinking Dallas. I'm thinking Dallas. Yeah, those are my thoughts on Nico. With, the Sacramento Kings firing their GM, I mean, good riddance. I mean, the whole season, everyone's been like, "What are they doing?" They're r Chicago Bulls 2.0? What? What? They signed DeMar DeRozan in the offseason. That I actually didn't mind at all. I was like, "DeMar DeRozan's a great player, really solid veteran presence," when it was De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, right? Then they trade they fire Mike Brown, they trade De'Aaron Fox, they get Zach LaVine, they've got good old Valanciunas, good old playing Jonas Valanciunas, right? And I'm like, this didn't work out before, why would it work out now? And, I mean, it's funny to me that DeMar, like, leaves Chicago to go to Sacramento, then and then he just ends up being reunited with Zach LaVine anyway. Didn't necessarily work out for Chicago either, like, both these teams made these huge swings, and they're exactly where they were a year ago. So, yeah, this GM firing does not surprise me. Apparently, their owner, Vivek, like, approached, their GM, like, after the game. Like, fully after the game was like, "Listen, you're fired." Pretty brutal, but this one I think is, like, completely understandable, even just from an outsider's perspective. They're so far removed from that, like, light the beam season where things were, like, joyous and, like, really exciting there again after, like, a really long time of just head-scratching moves, and, yeah, I don't know how they build this back again. I feel like if I'm Sacramento, and I don't know what kind of, like, leverage they have or don't have, but, like, at this point, like, trade DeMar DeRozan to a contender, try and get some young talent, and and I don't wanna say completely rebuild because you do have some good players there, you do have Sabonis, I do really like Malik Monk, like, I just feel like get some guys that are, like, more their age, like, more, I guess, like, in their 20s, and yeah. I mean, you're gonna have to draft well next year. I don't know what else to say. Alright. That's it for all the crazy drama. Let's get into the NBA playoff standings, shall we? Good podcasting, good podcasting. I am Googling blah, blah, blah. Okay, sorry about that. Alright. Um Playing tonight will be Mavericks Grizzlies. I'm rooting for Dallas. I don't know if they're gonna win. I'm rooting for them. Heat Hawks, man, the Heat were really impressive against the Bulls. Like really, really impressive. Tyler Hero has made a leap in his offense, which is again, like I just don't watch enough Heat games. We're Raptors people here. Um to have really known that, but, Tyler Hero has seen Jimmy Butler leaving as an opportunity, and I think for Miami, that is wonderful, right? How awesome is that? He's healthy again, like, Tyler Hero is phenomenal, and, yeah, I think the Heat are gonna beat the Hawks. I think they will go on to face the Cavs. Now, are they gonna beat the Cavs? No. But I don't know if they'll get swept either. I mean, this Miami Heat team, even without Jimmy Butler, they I mean, it's kind of like what I was saying with the Mavericks earlier, like, give them credit, like, they play like they're gonna win a championship whether they have any chance or not. Like, I think maybe they could get, like I mean, Cleveland is so good. I don't know. I feel like I wanna throw Miami a bone and say they'll get 1 game, like, they'll get a Tyler Hero game and win 1, so I wanna say Cleveland in 5, but that's also just me being emotional. So, maybe they'll get swept against Cleveland, but I really like what I'm seeing from them, and I feel like when people talk about the difference between rebuilding and retooling, this feels like a really good example of retooling, right? Where, like, they had a crap season, all the Jimmy Butler drama, blah, 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 but they're playing really well now, right? And, like, I'm curious if they'll be able to make a few off-season moves. Again, I don't know what their cap or draft scenario is. Um, Andrew Wiggins, my god. I just don't know what's happened to this kid. Um, I wonder if they can get anything for him. Um, but yeah, I think, if they had this roster for a season without all the drama and the suspensions and this, that, and the other, they would probably still be a play-in team, but they would be higher than 10th. You know what I mean? Like, they might be more in that 7-8 bracket, um, with the Magic and the Hawks. So, anyway, I like this Heat team. I'm saying Cavs in 5, but it's probably gonna be 4. Celtics Magic. Now this is another series where I'm like, "Man, like, the Magic could get one, I like this Magic team," but everyone who's analyzing this series is saying, like, they're gonna get swept. And I think it's just one of those situations where, like, the Celtics just really have their number, and no one's really anticipating they're gonna move on. The Magic have had a disappointing season, obviously, with injuries and stuff. Also, like, currently Jalen Suggs is injured. Um, Corey Joseph was starting. I mean, good for Corey Joseph, but even on the broadcast, they were like, "Man, the last time Corey Joseph started or was in a playoff game, blah, blah, blah." I mean, it was like I mean, shout out to Corey Joseph. Canadian, we love Corey Joseph. But it was like like, even the broadcast was shocked, Cole Anthony had a huge night. Cole Anthony's gonna have to be big for them this entire playoffs if they are gonna have a chance of winning a game against the Celtics. Moreover, Cole Anthony probably just needs to step up for this team in general, next year if they're going to be competitive in the top 6. Injuries aside, right? Like, obviously, we all anticipated the Magic to have a better season, and they probably would've if they were healthy. But I think, like, KCP, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, had a disappointing season. He has not been the depth that they hoped he would be, and I don't know who you can move him for or anything like that, but I think if your young talent can step up, then that's really more ideal for them. I hope this team, if they get swept, that they don't do anything stupid, panicky like all these other teams I was talking about before. I don't want them to fire everyone or trade everyone. It's not that kind of scenario in Orlando. I still believe in this team. I still think they're really good. I think they need to make a few moves around the margins, right, to complement Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Um, but yeah, I still really like the Mavs or sorry, the Magic. Yeah, it sucks that it's gonna end soon for them, but you know what? Like, maybe they're better off because of all the injuries that they've had to deal with this year, that maybe it'll be like a blessing in disguise for them to kind of, like, regroup and come back next year, but I do hope they keep most of the team intact. And also too, like, if Jalen Suggs was in this series, like, he has emerged as, like, a really great point guard. I would feel differently about the Magic winning a game, like, I would feel more confident about it than I do. Um, alright, let's move on. Let's do Knicks, Pistons. Now talk about a team having another team's number. Everyone is saying the Pistons have the Knicks number. In the regular season, the Pistons won 3-1 their regular season. Here's the thing. I love this Pistons team. This is so exciting for Detroit. Congratulations for getting out of the NBA doghouse. It was a long time coming. Monty Williams last year, I felt what he did was borderline criminal. I think he should have been forced to donate half of his salary to Flint, Michigan. I feel like he should be the one responsible for them having clean water. Like, I'm just so when I think about the awful job that Monty Williams did last year, like, it makes me angry. Like, I just feel like he used them for money and just didn't show up. Anyway, those feelings aside, here's the thing. The Pistons might have had really good games against the Knicks in the regular season, right? This is the playoffs, okay? And they're gonna be playing in the playoffs for the first time in their careers, many of the players, many of the main players on the team, right? In Madison Square Garden. This has cold feet written all over it. Okay? It does. Now, do I think they're gonna get swept? No. I think this series could easily go to 6. And for Detroit's sake, okay? Because I think the Detroit Pistons, this is an organization, they've won championships in the past, right? Like, I feel like they probably have a lot of really loyal fans who have sat through a lot of crap for a long time. I hope they get a playoff win at home. I'm really rooting for that game 3 or 4 that the Pistons win. I just want that for Detroit. I just want that for my NBA heart as a fan. You know? This is what I want. I'm predicting Knicks in 6. Because I am taking into account the fact that the Pistons were able to win 3 out of 4 games against them in the regular season, but the Knicks have been there, done that. They have more to prove. They have the home court advantage, and I just think the cold feet factor is gonna be very real in this series. So I'm going with the Knicks. Okay, Pacers, Bucks. This is low key the most exciting series in the East. Like, I feel like the Bucks and the Pacers don't get their due when it comes to, the national spotlight, for example. These are smaller market teams that probably deserve more attention than they get. Giannis continues to have, one of the best seasons of his career, should probably be in the MVP conversation more than he is. I feel like we've been saying that for the last several years, but because he won MVPs earlier in his career, we don't really add him to the conversation now. These 2 teams are very evenly matched. However, the Bucks don't have Damian Lillard, which is gonna be brutal for them. And I think this is one of those series where, like, some people will look at it and you know how people do the whole, like, "Oh, best player, you know, wins the series," kinda thing, and, like, obviously, Giannis is the best player, but I don't think Milwaukee is gonna have the depth to overcome this. Like, Giannis is gonna have to do so much heavy lifting in this series. He's gonna have to do the most, and I think he will, but I think it will exhaust him over time. Also too, like, we're Raptors people. We love Siakam. Siakam has been having a phenomenal year, and he's so underrated, in my opinion. He is the best player on that team. Okay, I know Halliburton gets all the spotlight, and I do really enjoy Tyrese Halliburton, but Siakam is by far the best player on this team. I know I'm a little biased. I know I'm biased, but I'm telling you, Pascal is awesome on this team, and he's hard to guard, and I just feel like, like, I don't know, like, the Pacers, like, Benedict Mathurin has been stepping up this year. Andrew Nemhard's been stepping up this year. Shout out to our Canadians. I feel like, yes, I'm rooting for the Pacers because 'cause I'm biased, but also I feel like the Pacers can really win this one. The Pacers have beat the Bucks in the playoffs before. Last year, they're returning with a lot of that core group, and I feel like, maybe this will go to 6, maybe 7. I do believe the Pacers, yeah, they have home court in this, so even if it goes to 7, they have home court advantage. I'm picking Pacers in this, but this is the one Eastern Conference series I think could really go to 7 games. Oh my god, if Knicks Pistons goes to 7 games, I'm gonna be so proud of the Pistons. Oh my god, I'm gonna feel like a proud mom. It's just true, I will. Okay, let's move on to the West, shall we? Just a quick water break here. Okay, so Western Conference, okay, I talked about Kings and Mavericks. I'm hoping the Mavericks win. Look, either way, whether it's the Kings or sorry, not the Kings, Grizzlies, my bad. Whether it's the Mavericks or the Grizzlies that move on to face the Thunder, I do think this is going to be a sweep. The Thunder have won 68 games this season. 68. I mean, the record is 71. Like, this is insane. And, one could argue that if, Chet Holmgren was healthy, if, like, this team was healthy all year, they could have tied or passed that record. Like, man, this team is just so good, and I'm so rooting for them. I mean, I'm rooting for Shea, obviously, right? And Lou Dort. I'm rooting for our Canadians. But this team's also really likable, like they've got good camaraderie together. They're young. I know people, they're not battle tested, but they were in the playoffs last year. They were number 1 in the regular season. They were in the playoffs last year. They got eliminated. And I feel like, they don't have that multiple years of being battle tested, but it won't be like completely foreign to them either. So I'm curious to see how much that'll be a factor down the line. It definitely won't be a factor in this first round. I think they're going to take this pretty handily and they'll be resting for the next series. Okay. The following 3 are just so nice. So nice. Rockets, Warriors. Oh my god, I'm so happy this happened. I know everyone wanted Lakers, Warriors, and, I want that too. But also I feel like how wonderful would it be if that got to be a second round series, right? Like, I feel like let's let that be a second round series. Um, the Rockets, I they're second. Here's the thing, they are second in the West, but the West was so competitive and so crowded that the Warriors at number 7 are only back from the 2nd spot by 4 games, right? Like, the Rockets had a 52-30 record, the Warriors have a 48-34 record, right? And we all know a lot of those wins were from the second half of their season with Jimmy Butler. Right? So the 2-7 thing is just not the level of disparity that it is in most conferences in most years, right? Like, for example, let's look at the East for okay, major, right? Celtics, 61 wins, Magic at 7, 41 wins. So in the Eastern Conference, that is a difference of 20 games, and in the Eastern Conference, that's a difference of 20 games. In the West, that's a difference of 4 games. So everything in the West is just so much more compact and so much more competitive. That the Warriors are not a traditional 7 seed. And that's not just because 'cause they're the quote unquote Warriors. There's all these other factors, right? Like the amount of games won, obviously the Jimmy Butler thing. The Rockets as a collective are new to the playoffs. Individually, some have more experience than others. Fred, champion, right? Ime Udoka, finals. However, I really like the Warriors to win the series. I do think this will be tight. I do think this can come down to 7 games. I do believe in the Warriors to win a game 7 on the road because 'cause they've done it. I feel like the thing with the Warriors is outside of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler, who is their 3rd offensive weapon, right? Like, to me, Buddy Hield has been a bit disappointing, right? I feel like it's gotta be, like, Moses Moody or Gary Payton Jr. or the 2nd, sorry, not junior, the 2nd. Um, yeah, Brandon Podziemski, like, somebody is gonna have to step up and be their 3rd offensive option. I feel like that's gonna be major for them, and even if it's a different player, a different night, that's fine, right? It can be a collective, but if it's only like, if the 2 of them have to score, like, the bulk of their points, it's gonna, which I'm sure it will be, but you know what I mean, like, more than half, it's gonna be hard. I do think this series is gonna be a defensive dogfight. I do think this series is probably gonna have some ejections, maybe suspensions, hopefully not, because I want to see these players play, and I'm hoping that they can do what they need to do to actually stay in these games. Um, but yeah, I've got the Warriors in 6 or 7 here. Um, but also I feel like there's this part of me that's like, maybe we're just really underestimating the Rockets, you know? Maybe, but I'm still gonna go with the Warriors anyways, because I feel like sometimes it's like, "Listen, prove it to me, and then I'll pick you." That's kinda how I feel here. Also, too, for the Rockets fans to be in a totally new era of basketball and still have to face Steph Curry in the playoffs is such a chef's kiss. I absolutely love that. And another reason I'm grateful this is a first round series and not the Lakers. Speaking of the Lakers, 3-6, we've got Lakers, Timberwolves. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a fun series because, you know, there's one thing that LeBron and Luca had in common before they were teammates, and that is a hatred for Rudy Gobert, okay? I don't know why, but everyone hates Rudy Gobert, and they do especially. So, I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna love this series. I absolutely think the Lakers will win this. I think it'll be Lakers in 6, maybe 5. I mean, I don't know what the Timberwolves are doing. I'm kind of losing, I was more excited about them last year. I'm kinda losing faith in them a bit. I think Julius Randle has been known to choke in the playoffs. This is an opportunity for him to prove everyone wrong. We'll see if he does. Um, I don't know. Like, I just feel like even like Dante DiVincenzo's had a really up and down season. Um, Anthony Edwards admitted that he doesn't wanna be the quote unquote "face of the league." Just so brutal. You know, we talked about that when it happened, but the more I think about it, I'm like, "Man, if you were my team and you told me or you told the world that you don't wanna be the quote unquote "face of the league," I would feel like you don't necessarily wanna be a champion, or you don't really, like, care that much, like, you don't have that, like, Kobe Mamba mentality instinct thing that we love to see in competitive sports. Like, I just feel like, you know, you're just here to, like, collect your checks, I guess, you know? Let me know if I'm reading too much into that, but I feel strongly about it. I don't know, like, Anthony Edwards has the talent to be the number 1 guy on a championship team, absolutely, but does he have the will, the want? This series is gonna be a real test for that. I want him to be that guy. I absolutely want that for us, for the world. But we'll see, and if Gobert throws a punch, that would make me so happy. Not that I want anyone to get hurt. He can throw a punch in the air, you know? But just, you know, get his feathers ruffled, world, please, Lakers, okay? That'd be nice. Nuggets, Clippers. I actually think this is hands down the hardest series to call. Their records are tied. Their regular season records are completely tied. I don't know what to make of the Nuggets with all of this recent drama. They have been winning games to end the regular season. They do have home court advantage in this. Um, as well with the Clippers, like, they're also a team that's been kinda under the radar, sort of been underestimated all season. Norm Powell is having an all-star season. James Harden is playing well, and people are saying Kawhi is looking like Kawhi again. So, if these guys are playing out of their minds, and what I mean by out of their minds, I just mean consistently good, and the Nuggets with their possible chemistry issues, right, with Westbrook, also too with the inconsistency of Jamal Murray. Like, I really am rooting for the Nuggets, but as I'm talking about it, I'm kinda talking myself out of the Nuggets winning. They do once again have the best player on their team, in the series, right? I I do think this is gonna go 7 games, and I think this for the Nuggets, this is gonna come down to Jamal Murray. Are you gonna be playoff Jamal? Are you gonna be consistent, healthy, the Jamal Murray that won this team a championship? Oh, the other thing I wanna say about the whole Mike Malone drama while we're here is just this one point, and that is, if this works out for the Nuggets, like, if the Nuggets make it to the Western Conference Finals, then I can almost guarantee you that coaches being fired days before the playoffs is going to become a trend in the NBA, right? Like, that's the one thing I forgot to mention earlier, is that if the Nuggets win this series and the next series, because I think if they lose in the semifinals, then they are either playing to or below expectations. But if they make it to the Western Conference Finals, the coaches are gonna have to watch their backs in early April now, and that's gonna become a whole thing in this league because it will set a precedent. So look out for that. Um, I'm I'm emotionally leaning towards the Nuggets in this series. In 7, I am logically thinking, "Man," and picking the under on the Clippers here is juicy. Um, yeah, this is a real, like, I don't know which way to call this. I might feel more confident just after a game 1, depending on how it goes, even if the Clippers lose it, but if it's close, then I might feel like, "Ooh, I wonder what adjustments they can make." They have a good team, they have a good coach, you know? Zubats might win defensive player of the year. That's another part of this whole Clippers thing that has just flown totally under the radar. Man, my heart is with the Nuggets. My head in this very moment, Thursday evening, is with the Clippers. I can't believe I just said that. In 7. Clippers in 6 would be an absolute disaster for Denver. I don't even know. Like, they're just gonna be in full panic mode if that happens. That would be absolutely wild. Okay, those are all the playoff series. How about it? 43 minutes in. Woo! Love, love that. I'm so excited for this weekend. I feel like annually this, you know, NBA playoff weekend, I'm just home watching games, and I'm just so excited. Okay. Raptors homer moment. I don't really have a major Raptors homer moment. We had our the end of the season press conferences. I feel like, Masai doubling down on wanting to win here is per usual. Um, Darko has been extended, which I expected, and I do think he's been a really good development guy. Everybody was like praying for the Raptors to um tank harder, and they couldn't even when he was playing role players because they were exceeding expectations, and I think a lot of that has to do with growth and the growth mindset on the team. And good for Darko, and I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he's back. Not everything needs to be panic mode just because you don't win a championship, right? It's like we're rebuilding. The coach, like, the players respond to him, they all seem to like him. They're really into the who gets the chain when they win a game thing, right? This season was really tough with so many injuries, And I think, like, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing this team healthy. I don't think we should be going into next season being, like, frustrated that we're not winning enough or whatever. I don't know what kind of moves, Masai's gonna make in this offseason. I don't know what kind of player they're even looking to draft, like, positionally or anything. So, you know, we've got, like, 2 months to figure that out. So, we'll see what news comes out as, time goes along, but I was kind of relieved to have this Raptors season end, I won't lie. It was really fun at the beginning. It got kinda sad and depressing towards the end. I got really burnt out with all the nostalgia stuff, if I'm being honest. Like, I really loved the nostalgia stuff at first. The Vince Carter jersey retirement is really one of the highlights of the whole year for me, personally. But I just feel like, it was just like it was like, "Okay, I get it," you know? Um, and so I don't know what they're gonna do next year because 'cause it'll be season 31, right? Like, they're not gonna be so nostalgia heavy, and if we're still, quote, unquote, "rebuilding" and the team isn't competing to be in the playoffs, what's gonna keep us engaged? I think that's the kind of, you know, one of the many questions for the Raptors this offseason. So that's kind of what I'll be looking out for, to see how they'll make those adjustments. Okay, Hottie Highlight of the week. It's been 2 weeks, and there have been many a Hottie Highlight, but I stumbled upon something the other day, and I thought, "Oh, baby, this has to be it. This is so fun. This is so fun for me." So here it is. Steve Nash. Shout out to Steve Nash. Okay. Steve Nash is now the co host of LeBron's podcast where they dissect basketball, etc. Happy for him. Really appreciate Steve Nash being appreciated for the basketball mind that he is or has always been because people really like, I don't know, people always downplay his MVPs and stuff, but I'm like, he kinda, like, shifted the point guard game a bit, like, I feel like after Steve Nash, a lot of point guards were kind of emulating themselves off of him. I think those MVP seasons were well earned. I know that's controversial. A lot of people were like, "Kobe, whatever." Um, but anyway, the Hottie highlight is the fact that on this podcast, Steve Nash shared with LeBron that when he was younger, he wanted to be black. And I love this so much. He talked about how he wanted to be black, how he, grew up admiring a lot of other black people, basketball players, pop culture, etc. And he just wanted to be like them. But he was this like, white guy and just didn't have that swagger, etc. God, it's such a fun moment. It's such a fun moment. And also, it really warmed my heart. And all the comments on this post, like on the clip that's going viral, is just like, wow, Steve Nash just single-handedly like ending racism, bringing people together, because it's like, because he's just showing like, how much he like appreciated so many black stars when he was young. And honestly, that's something I can relate to. I mean, look at my background. I got Janet Jackson and Tupac there, Vince Carter's there. It's all love. At least for me and Steve Nash. Let's end it there. A nice 50-minute almost podcast. Everyone, thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. I appreciate you so, so much. I really do, especially when I do the solo pods, because then it's like, man, you're just listening to this cadence. And I like my cadence. I do, but it's niche, right? It's niche. So thank you, everyone. Happy NBA playoffs. Let me know who you're rooting for, who you think will win, if you agree with any of my picks. Yeah, let's keep the conversation going. Thanks everyone, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.